welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem, the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring you true stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Janet O'Brien.
And I'm Tracey LaRicha.
Hello!
Hello, Janet! How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's almost the end of the week, so, that's kind of nice.
We've been sitting here and, snacking and catching up for a little bit and
Yes.
getting ready for our stories.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have anything fun planned for the weekend?
I feel like I should, but I don't think I do. As of from last week or 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
we have a whole house full of cats.
Yes.
And so this weekend, I don't have anything pressing on the table, so I think that I am going to be super glamorous and sexy and exciting, and I am going to mop my floors.
Woo-hoo! You're turning me on.
And then I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to do them so hard. And then I'm going to put clean sheets on the bed.
Gasp!
I might even go to Target.
Oh, we did do something fun this weekend, though. This past weekend.
We did, yeah.
We went to the zoo.
We did. We had such a nice time.
Yes.
If you are in the St. Louis area and you haven't been to the St. Louis Zoo in a while, definitely go.
Yeah.
Ride the train.
Yes.
Too.
The train is always nice.
So much fun.
So much fun.
And they have triplet baby tigers.
Oh my god.
At the St. Louis Zoo now, and so we got to see one of the little babies.
It was like playing with the water.
I know.
It was so cute.
I know. I came home and I told my kittens that they need to step it up.
Oh my god.
But otherwise, yeah, everything's been all right. It's just kind of, we're in that space between, we just had the eclipse, and
Yes.
then, and we'll be, going on another trip, hopefully in another few weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks.
So,
Yay.
yeah, so in between, it's spring. It's time to get your house in order.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right,
So
but
I think
you go first, and you have a
Yes,
story.
I do. So, I think I think I said this a week or two ago. I have gone down the rabbit hole of, I haven't seen Unsolved Mysteries in a while.
Right, and you've been watching a bunch of them.
Yeah, they're just fun. I'm like, I remember when they were out.
Mm-hmm.
And I really watched them. And I know...
And that's Robert Stack.
Oh, yeah, totally Robert
Right?
Stack.
Mm-hmm.
And I even watched, there's this thing on, I don't know what, I'm pretty sure it came out when he was still doing Unsolved Mysteries,
Mm-hmm.
but they kind of do a behind the scenes thing, and they talk about the writing and when he would go, and they said Robert Stack was really interested in the stories.
Is he still around?
No, he passed away. Okay. But yeah, he just, it's an interesting thing, and they
Absolutely.
the fact that that was kind of the first show where let's show you a thing, and apparently 50% of those cases were solved.
Fantastic, because you hear about it. We've done a few stories where it's it was an Unsolved Mysteries, and all of a sudden they got the lead that broke the case.
Exactly. So I kind of found this, and then there was some other angles to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this one. So I'm going to start off kind of random, but we'll get there. Do you watch a whole lot of horror movies at all?
Some of them, I tend to like things that are a little more tension than horror.
Right.
So I watch stuff you did the story about the case that made Rope.
Yes.
A few weeks ago. Love that movie. Love that movie.
Too.
Love Rear Window. Anything that's kind of suspense is more my jam than just abject horror. But I do like a good horror movie every once in a while.
So I used to watch them, and then I didn't for a long time, just because I guess when horror started to kind of get a little too gory, I'm like, it was off-putting. But I think now we've kind of like reeled it back some. I mean, there's still, you got your gore, and there is definitely a genre, that there's definitely a place for that.
For me, gore has to be way over the top.
Yeah, it has to be way over the top to where you're like, yeah, no.
We're like, now it's funny. It's so bad it's good again.
Right. Like, years ago, there was, oh my God, our friends Chris and Alice, they were having some people over, and Chris had the movie called Piranha on.
Oh dear.
And there was so much blood that at one point their friend Kara was over, and she just started to slow clap on the amount of blood that was happening.
Like, oh my goodness. Who could afford this much Hawaiian punch? Right. Yeah.
It's so funny. So anyway, okay. There was a movie that came out in 2001 called Jeepers Creepers. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have heard of it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, so Jeepers Creepers, basically I'll just give you kind of a synopsis of the story. Trish and I think it's Derry, are returning home from college from spring break. They're driving through the countryside, and an old truck starts tailgating them. Oh. But it eventually passes them. They're like, what the hell was that? And as they keep driving, they come up to this abandoned church, and they see that truck that was tailgating them parked next to the church. And there's a guy, the driver, he's wearing this big grimmed black hat, and he clearly has a body wrapped in a sheet, a bloody sheet, and he throws it down this pipe that's sticking out of the ground. They're like, what the hell, And
the church pipe.
Yeah, the church pipe.
They must have been Episcopalians.
So anyway, the driver notices them. And they're like, oh shit, they saw me. So he starts to chase them. He's driving real crazy. I think he's like even bumping into them. And then eventually he runs the kids off the road. They're fine, but he runs them off the road and he just keeps going. Then the kids, the boy, he's like, we should go back and see what happened. And the girl's like, I don't think that's a great idea. And they go back to the church, and he's looking down the pipe, and she's like, and I was watching some previews of it. She's like, this is how horror movies start.
Oh, you love a meta reference.
Yes.
In a horror movie film.
And he goes down, and of course they find like many bodies, and then they go to the police. The police
sure
don't believe them. It goes on from there. Now, unfortunately, this movie was put out, I think, shortly after this guy was released. The filmmaker's name of this movie is Victor Salva.
Okay.
He made Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3. I mean, it's just Jeepers Creepers. And then 2 and 3.
How many pipes were there?
And in 1988, because this movie came out, this movie came out in 2002, I believe.
Okay.
Or maybe it was it was 1992. See, I'm already off. Okay, so 1992, this movie comes out. Mm-hmm. But in 1988, he was convicted for sexually abusing a 12-year-old actor on the movie of Clown House. And he videotaped the encounter. So he's a horrible person.
There's a lot to unpack in that last sentence, Janet.
Yeah, he's a horrible person. He pleads guilty. He gets sentenced only 3 years, but only serves 15 months.
For the Clown House.
Yeah, for molesting this child, right.
Oh,
so he gets out, and he ends up creating Jeepers Creepers 1, I don't know how he kind of kept that hid. Or
how he's able to go back and...
Yeah.
Well, although you see that all the time.
All the time, right? So anyway, he creates these movies. I was trying. There's some little things that you can look on YouTube, and there's this one guy he does kill counts, and he refuses to do one on Jeepers Creepers. It's like, if you like it, that's fine. He's like, I still watch Woody Allen movies, and we know how terrible he is now. Mm-hmm. But it's like, he's like, I won't do an episode on this guy because he's, he doesn't want to sell it.
We've got our limits too. Like, there are a few stories that we've talked about where it's like, we're never going to do that one.
Right, exactly. So, the beginning of the movie that I just described to you is a real life story.
Jeepers Creepers is based on a true story.
The beginning, yes.
Okay.
So, have you
Jeepers Creepers 1.
Yes, the
Right,
very
okay.
first one. Have you ever heard of the man by the name of Dennis DePue?
No, although I am picturing someone with a pickup truck and a stripe down his back.
Right? So anyway, I'll show you a picture here in a moment once I kind of get there.
So Dennis DePue.
Dennis DePue, right?
Where do we know where he's from? Do we
He
have his-
lives in, they live in, not Wisconsin, Michigan.
Are you serious?
Are we doing it again?
My story is also from Michigan. How?
I have no idea.
Get out of my dreams, Janet. Get out of my dreams. And get into my creepy clown car.
Get out of my dreams.
Get into my creeper van. My Jeeper Creeper.
So anyway, Dennis and his wife.
Ow!
How do we keep doing that?
I don't know.
Okay. So Dennis DePue and his wife Marilyn, they're going through a divorce. He's like 47 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Per Marilyn, he was a bully. During the divorce, he offered her. Oh, there's a dog.
Oh, well,
During the divorce, he offered her whatever she wanted in the divorce. Like, he did not fight anything at all. The children could pick up, though, like, because they had 3 kids. I think 2 of them were teenagers. The kids could pick up there's something else going on. Like, okay, he's letting her have everything, but there's some underlying issue.
by the time you're that age, if your parents, and especially like if you've grown up in a household where there's tension and abuse in the marriage, you know,
pick up.
you get to that point where you're just like,
What are
maybe
you doing?
not everything
Why
is
are you
great.
letting her have everything? That seems really odd.
Maybe not everything is completely great with mom and dad.
Right. So the children could pick up on this. Their 3 children did not like spending a lot of time with their father because hence the word bully at the top here. Dennis and Marilyn both had joint custody on their children.
Okay.
She lived in the main house. He used the guest house on the property as his office. But when the kids in Maryland were not at the main house, he would go into the main house when no one was around, despite that she changed all the locks.
Oh.
So he was kind of breaking into her house without her knowing. It was really weird.
So she never felt safe.
No, she didn't.
Things were never secure.
No, she purposely had the locks changed.
You deliberately do not allow her to have any space that is
Right.
secure for herself.
Right. So on April 15th, 1990, Easter Sunday,
Oh.
Dennis went to go pick up the children from Maryland. The youngest did not want to get into his car. It was this green van. And then the other kids, after the kid's I don't want to go. The other 2 kids are yeah, I don't want to go either. And so a fight ensued. The kids are fighting with him, and then Marilyn ends up getting into the fight. And so they're all kind of this big argument over, you should get in the car. I don't want to get in the car. And then he ends up accusing Marilyn, his ex-wife, of turning the children against him.
Of course. It's got nothing to do with your own behavior.
No, not at all.
It's everybody is just turned against you.
Right. So
Well, you hear that, don't you, sometimes? But,
So what does he do? He pushes her down the stairs and begins beating her while the children are watching.
oh, sure. Well, now they want it,
Oh yeah, that totally sells it. So the oldest runs out of the house to the neighbors to call the police.
good.
So she runs out because she's
That poor kid, though,
Yeah.
having to deal with that at that.
So she runs across. Runs next door. She comes back, and Dennis is basically carrying Marilyn out. She's still alive and everything, but she's clearly
Bloodied
messed up.
and bludgeoned.
The one girl is trying to talk to her, Mom, and she's kind of out of it. She's and he's I'm gonna take your mom to the hospital.
Oh, sure, yeah.
After you beat her, right? So, but Nobody ever arrives at any hospitals. The same day,
Oh, no.
okay, again, this is 1990, same day, Ray and Marie Thornton. They're just going for a nice Sunday drive on Easter Sunday. They're driving down Snowberry Road in Coldwater, Michigan. It's out in the country. The couple liked to play a game to pass the time when they would go on their car rides. They would make words and phrases out of the license plates that passed them.
Okay.
Okay? So they're driving along, and all of a sudden this 1984 green Chevrolet van passed them high speed. That's his van. And then Marie won that round by as there were letters on the plate that said GZ. And she goes, geez, he must be in a hurry. So she wins that round.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's what they do. As they continue to drive, they come up to an old schoolhouse. And they see, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Because this road is just like a 2-lane highway out in the middle of nowhere. And they notice a man is standing beside the schoolhouse with a blood-covered sheet and his hands... in his hands, and he's trying to dispose of it. So, like, Marie's like, what?
Oh,
did you see that?
Oh, sheet! He must have murdered his wife.
And then parked between the school and there's a very large, I assume it's some kind of gas tank because it's out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Between the schoolhouse and the gas tank is the green Chevrolet van that sped past them.
Oh, no.
And so they're like, she's like, what's going on? Did you see that? So they continue to drive because they're like, okay, again, this is 1990. We need to go find a phone and call the police.
Someone because they don't have, no one has, you don't have a cell phone.
Right. So she's like trying to remember as much as the license plate that she looked at.
All she knows is GZ.
Yeah, she knows those. And she might know a couple other numbers. And then while they're driving, all of a sudden that same van comes up behind them and like follows them erratically and closely for the next few miles.
Like you've seen me twice and now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Seems a lot like the beginning of Jeepers Creepers that I just described. And then he ends up the couple ends up turning off the road, so he'll stop following them. And they turn off the road, they pull into a rest area. And like they're like, we should get some more information before we call the cops. So they end up turning their car around and they come back and they pass him again.
Oh, no.
And they notice he's changing the plates on his car. He's pulled over at this point.
Hi, this is enough, please. Thank you. Call the cops.
And then they see the passenger side door is open and there's blood all over the inside of the passenger side door.
Hi, this is also more than enough, please. Thank you. Please call the cops.
That's right.
Jeepers Creepers indeed.
So that happens and then they're like, okay, let's go ahead and go back to the school. So they go back to the school. They go into where they saw and they see the sheet and what he did is he took the bloody sheet and he tried to, there was a hole that was dug by an animal and he tried to shove it down there as best as he could, but it was...
No pipe!
No, exactly, no pipe! So they're like, okay, we need to go get the cops. So... So law enforcement shows up to the school. The Michigan State Police and the Sheriff's Office already know, they're already on a manhunt for Dennis because of the daughter who called when her mom got hurt, by him. They find tracks of blood and a pool of blood in the, next to the building. They find tire treads, which they ended up later linking to Dennis's van. So they're like, okay, and then they, did a blood test and it matched what Marilyn's blood, was. So they're like, okay, this is definitely her blood. So the next day, her body was...
The next
day! They can't find him. He's gone. The next day, her body was found in a brush next to a quiet road halfway between the schoolhouse and her home.
Well, just in time.
Yeah. She had been shot in the back of her head. The next few days, Dennis went on, basically, he was just on the run, but what he kept doing is he kept sending letters to family and friends.
From her?
No, from him.
Oh, from him, saying...
17 letters total with various postmarks across the eastern United States. They were all long rants where he justified killing her.
So he's not trying to deny it.
No.
He's just trying to explain it.
Yes. At one of these letters, Marilyn had many opportunities to treat me fairly during this divorce, and she chose to string it out, trick me, lie to me, and when you lose your wife, children, and home, there's not much left. I was too old to start over.
Wow.
Sounds like a peach. Oh, would you like to see a picture of him?
I guess so. Hold on. Oh, he looks evil. Like, you can take a look at his face, and
It just does not look
you
like
can tell that that is a man that has never been happy a day in his life.
No.
And those eyes are so dead.
I know. No, I know. He's creepy.
Like,
And this is like a family picture.
who looks at that man and says, I do?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, gosh, that's
So-
awful.
3 months after the murder, still haven't found him yet, he ends up sending a 13-page letter to, they didn't say who, quoting Bible verses and more rambling. So, almost a year after this happens, March 1991, Unsolved Mysteries airs an episode about Dennis DePue's crime. And when they do episodes on Unsolved Mysteries, they really try to pull in the original people to act
truly
it out.
do,
They don't
yeah.
get actors like you see on
Right,
the
it's
things
not
today.
reenactments like
No, it's the real
a
people.
lot of the other shows. Yeah, you're true.
Which always made that show more interesting to me. That night, it aired. And a woman by the name of Mary, I'm not sure if that's her real name because it was in quotations. I think because when they interviewed her, she was like, they had her darked out.
Sure, so somebody that is scared to
Yeah, to
put their real identity forward.
So Mary, she came home, and she lives in Dallas, Texas. She comes home to her Dallas home, and she's surprised to see her boyfriend's van in the driveway.
Oh no.
Her boyfriend, Hank, told her he needed her, to drive home as his mother was incredibly ill. He asked her to make him some sandwiches for his long road trip while he packed all his belongings. Now when they interviewed her, she was like, okay, I could tell I was never going to see him again. I knew he was lying to me. I just knew.
This is going to seem really inconsequential, but this is where I am with every crime story. Do we know what kind of sandwiches?
It looked like turkey.
Turkey
Or ham. They were definitely putting mayonnaise on them, so you know.
Alright, a turkey and mayonnaise sandwich. I mean,
Sure.
if I had to go on the line, I would want that.
So she knew he was lying to her, and she was like, I was pretty sure I was not going to see him again. So Hank, he was basically the reason why he was trying to make her to make those sandwiches is because at that time that he was trying to leave the house, they were airing his face on the TV.
So he wants her out.
He is trying to get her out of the living room to not see the TV.
Hey, baby, could you go change the laundry over?
Right, like just totally trying to distract
have you
her.
found my blue socks?
Right.
I think the dog needs to go out. Could you take her for a walk?
So that show is airing while this is happening. So Hank, he packs up his 1984 green Chevrolet van. She's like, he just gave me a tiny peck of a kiss. She's like, I ended up, I want to like a hug because she was like, I'm pretty sure I'm never going to see him again.
I'm never going to see you again.
Yeah,
right.
so she gives him a hug. He gets in the van, drives away. And then one of Mary's friends was watching TV, though, at their own house.
Ring.
They're like, oh, So they call, because, they would have a hotline for unsolved mysteries. So she ends up calling.
Good for her.
She's
Yay,
yeah, I'm pretty sure I know where he is if he hasn't already left,
Everybody ought to have a Mary.
Yes.
Like, ladies, get yourself a friend that will call and be like, ah!
So she somehow knew the plate number to his van. She gives him the plate number. It's a Texas plate at this point.
The fact that she knows the plate number to his van, like, kind of says that, like...
I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for Mary.
Yeah, there's something that smells a little bit off.
Right. So 4 hours later, the state troopers...
4 hours?
4 hours later, after this has been on TV... Louisiana state troopers spot him. So he has left Texas. He's in Louisiana. They try to stop him. He ends up leading them on a 15-mile car chase.
Nice.
So they're like chasing him for 15 miles. The sheriff is like, okay, let's try to shoot out his tires so he can't drive anymore.
Right.
So they start aiming at, they end up hitting both back wheels. He drives on the rims for another half a mile, and then he stops his van.
Well, that's the act of an innocent man.
Right? And then he starts shooting out of his car. Like, he shoots through his windshield and out the window at the cops. And then I guess he just realizes this isn't going to work. So he ends up shooting himself. He just commits suicide before the cops can even get to him.
Suicide by a cop, kind of, roughly. Well, not really by a cop, but you know what I mean.
Right. So he ends up just
Sorry
killing.
for the noise. I had to go and rescue my mozzarella sticks from the kitten.
So he ends up killing himself. And when they interview one of the cops who was there on the scene, he was like, it was really weird to watch the show, because he watched the show earlier in the evening, and then find this guy that I just saw on this TV show dead in this van. He's like, it was really surreal. Yeah, so he was just amazed to see that, because
life imitating art.
Right, but that's really it. I mean, that's the end of the story. Like, they aired it, and like within 4 hours he was caught.
Wow.
Is
that a record for Unsolved Mysteries?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he had been on the run for like almost a year. And he clearly shacked up with somebody, or he was dating someone, and
well, that show really did break open a lot of cases, like you said. That is fantastic.
But I had no idea about when I was researching, I was like, oh, this is a pretty interesting story. And I'm like, wait a minute, the Jeepers Creepers thing, what? And it, like, literally the beginning of the movie is almost identical to how that story actually started, other than there was no big pipe. They didn't actually see the body being thrown. They just saw the sheet. And the guy did not have Dennis did not have a big black rimmed hat. So
I was going to say, I never did hear about the hat, but I was picturing kind of like, when we were at the zoo, and they, y'all, we were at the zoo last weekend, and there were a whole bunch of priests that were there, and they were all in, like, the long black cassocks, like friars maybe, or monks or whatnot, and they were all unbelievably handsome. And then there was one dude that was wearing the, like, Father Guido Sarducci. I came home and I told Ryder about that, and I'm like, I saw baby tigers, and we saw these hot priests, and we rode a train, and we drank smoothies out of pineapples, and one of them was wearing a Guido Sarducci hat, and Ryder was like, nuh-uh. I'm like, that's just what happens when Janet and I go out on an adventure together.
But that's my story.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, but it was super interesting.
It is super interesting, and it is nice in that for once on an Unsolved Mysteries,
it was solved
mysteries, and this guy ends up having to, to like pay his dues.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you have a story for me?
Oh shoot! Was I supposed to? No, I'm just teasing. I do have a story for you. There is one point in time in my story where we might have a little bit of like a hiccup while I like get the media up to play. because my other alternative is to play it on the record player, which I can bring in here. So you might need to vamp for a few seconds, or I might need to put something up on YouTube.
Okay.
Because I am talking about a musician.
Okay.
And I am going to talk to you about Sixto Diaz Rodriguez.
Okay.
Do you know who Rodriguez is?
I do not.
Okay. So Sixto Diaz Rodriguez, he was born July 10th, 1942. He is the sixth child of working-class Mexican immigrants that are living in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
He is named Sixto because he is the sixth child. And I guess by that time you're just like, I'm tired of babies. I've run out of names.
I've run out of names.
Right. Sixto. Fine. Yeah, sure. You're number 6. And that's okay. Mom doesn't have to live with that decision for very long because she dies when he's 3.
Oh, no.
Growing up, he is in kind of a hard-scrabble family. They don't have much. Detroit has a whole lot of Mexican immigrant families that are working industrial jobs.
Right.
Because of like the motor industry and all of that. There are a whole lot of people that are immigrating to Detroit in particular because it's the 40s and you can get a good job working there. Not much on his early years, other than we know that he is very musically talented. And by the time he's like kind of in his teens and early 20s, he is playing in bars.
Oh, wow.
And that's how he's discovered.
Nice.
He literally is discovered playing in a bar called The Sewer.
Sewer!
He frequently plays with his back to the audience. He's a little bit shy. So kind of like, and Jim Morrison did that too for a little while. Like he would play, and he was this incredible vocalist and guitarist, but he would play with his back to the audience because he just didn't want to have to look at the crowd. He's writing his own stuff, and he's maybe at his most talented as a songwriter. He's had a tough life, and this shows in the lyrics. He sings about loss and love and poverty, addiction, the plight of the working class, social injustice, all of the things that are facing him and countless other people at this time in history. By 1967, he has recorded one single, but it doesn't go anywhere. And so he doesn't really push it. But 3 years later, 3 years later,
lady.
3 years later, once, twice, 3 years lady. No, 3 years later, in 1970, he gets signed by an album, by a label called Sussex Records.
Okay.
He records his first LP, and it is called Cold Fact, and it's recorded in 1970.
Oh, okay.
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my photos. One of these days, we're just going to get the hang of putting these together.
I know.
Ahead of time. So, Cold Fact is recorded in 1970.
Oh, okay.
And I have this, and I do have to tell you that I liked this music so much that I bought his album on vinyl. And it got here today. Hold on. I don't know where my records are. Hold on one second.
Okay. I saw it on the dining room table.
It's because...
Did you move it?
No, it's because the cats knocked everything over.
Oh, they're helping. That's okay.
Gosh darn it. That's
Okay, that's okay.
All right. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Yay! Okay, I brought it in here. All right, thank you all. So this is Rodriguez Cold Fact, and this is the album. He's writing his own stuff. It's like I said, it's all about the working class and just the sort of environment that he grew up in. Throw him downstairs if you wouldn't mind. Sorry, y'all. I don't know if everybody knows this, but I have 3 cats now, and so it is just And that was the good one. So Cold Fact is recorded in 1970. It's a great album. It carries a lot of those same themes. He, to me, sounds a little bit like a little bit of Bob Dylan, a little bit of Donovan, if you knew Donovan.
Oh, I know Donovan.
And early Neil Diamond. His lyrics are also a little like early Springsteen. There's not a lot of fluff.
Okay.
Everything is substantial. His songs include This Is Not a Song, It's an Outburst, a.k.a. The Establishment Blues.
Oh, wow.
And this is the one that I want to play for you. And I will only play like the first 30 seconds or so. Hang on. I'm going to find it. It's a song called I Wonder.
Okay.
And it is... Hold on. In fact, let me just see if I can get the robot to do it.
Sure.
Alexa, play I Wonder by Rodriguez.
I Wonder by Rodriguez on Amazon Music.
Okay. I'm just going to play a few seconds.
Sure. And that's him playing the guitar, right?
It is, correct. And this does come back into play. Oh, shit!
How many times you've been ahead, and I wonder how many plans have gone bad. I wonder how many times you had sex, and I wonder, do you know who'll be next? I wonder.
Wow. He sounds very Bob Dylan. Not
Wonder I do. Alexa, stop. Okay, so that is the reason that I mentioned that, and that will come back into play, is because the I wonder how many times you've had sex.
Yeah.
That is very, very provocative and will come back into play later in the story.
Okay.
So anyway, he also has a song called Sugar Man, which is all about waiting on your dealer.
Oh.
You can see the lyrics on the back if you want to read, like...
Sugar Man, won't you hurry, 'cause I'm tired of these scenes. For a blue coin, won't you bring back all the colors of my dreams?
And it's all about waiting on your dealer to,
Right.
like, get there and bring you, you know, pot or poppers or whatever the heck they were doing.
It says silver magic, ships you carry, jumpers, Coke, sweet Mary Jane.
So Sugar Man will become kind of a nickname for Rodriguez.
Okay.
And we want to know this because in 1971, he releases a second album, and that one is called Coming From Reality. And this one actually kind of, I'm like, looking at this picture, he looks like an old boyfriend of mine. I'm like, oh, Tracy, where were you in college? So, Coming From Reality, this one doesn't really get any traction at all, although it does get some fans in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Because he'd done one small concert there. And meanwhile, in South Africa, an American girl has brought her Rodriguez album along with her, like, while she's visiting her South African boyfriend.
Oh.
He loves it. You can't get the album there, so they just tape it, and it kind of becomes, I mean, it's, you know, it's like the late 70s. Like, everything is bootleg.
Right, exactly.
Everything. So, 1971, 2 weeks before Christmas, Rodriguez is dropped by his record label.
Oh, no.
And it's poor sales of Coming From Reality. But he had a song on Coming From Reality called Cause. And then he said, like, there was one lyric before this happens where he's like, 'cause I lost my job 2 weeks before Christmas. And then he really literally does lose his contract
my God.
2 weeks before Christmas. overseas fans get word about that. They never hear any more of his music.
Oh, no.
And after the disaster of a second album, South African fans get word that he's playing a show in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
A few things go wrong. He's been dropped by Sussex Records.
Right.
He is having a bad show. The crowd is starting to boo him. The sound guy is particularly poor.
Oh, no.
So everything is going wrong. And the crowd is booing him off stage. And Rodriguez says, "This is my last performance," and shoots himself on stage.
Oh, my God.
Nobody can find any more detail. He's just forgotten.
Oh, my God.
An Australian record label buys the rights to his records in 1977, like years later. But he's completely forgotten, but he's not forgotten in South Africa, where he's become kind of a folk hero. His lyrical themes of inequality and injustice really resonate.
Sure, absolutely.
This is during apartheid.
Yeah.
And so young people grow up and they are like, we've never really heard this kind of perspective before, and so he becomes really, really important to them. Class differences are relevant. I Wonder, the song I just played, is the very first time the word sex has been said on the radio in South Africa. I mean, they didn't even have television until 1976 there.
Wow.
So a couple of South African superfans, a guy named Stephen, and his last name is Sigerman, but in Afrikaans, that's Sugarman, so his nickname is Sugar.
Oh my God.
And then a guy named Craig Stridham, they start looking for more information. In like 1996, they had looked for info way back when.
Right.
But they start really digging. And in the 90s, they start a website. They're trying to find anybody that has any answers about what happened to him.
Absolutely.
They grew up with the music. They didn't even have, like I said, didn't have TV till 1976. Rodriguez was the first anti-government, anti-establishment voice that they had ever heard. And the song Sugar Man was banned in South Africa. In fact, record stations and radio stations scratched off that track on the record so that it couldn't be played. But if you want young people to do something, just tell them that they can't do it.
Exactly.
Right? So the fans start trying to find out more by chasing out the lyrics in his songs. And he talks about, like, the tallest building in the USA. And so they're like, maybe he's from New York. And he talks about Florida, and they're like, maybe he's from Florida. And so they're basically Swifties, like looking for clues everywhere. And one day they think eventually, they're like, maybe we've tracked him down to Michigan, because he has one line about being in Dearborn, Michigan.
Right, yes.
One day in 1992, one of Rodriguez's daughters, Ava, she comes along and finds the website.
Oh my God.
Where these two fans are looking for
any information on
any information about Rodriguez. She contacts Craig and Stephen. They talk for a little bit, and they ask her, they're like, oh my God, your father's music meant so much to us. We loved him so much. Could you please tell us, like, anything that you can about him? And, like, it's just so tragic how he died. Could you tell us a little bit about how he passed away? Janet?
Yes.
Janet?
Tracy.
He's not dead.
What?
You know that you can never trust me when I say that somebody is dead. Either the body goes on an adventure or...
He's not dead.
I love a murder podcast that doesn't end up in a murder. Rodriguez had retired from music in 1976 after his second album didn't do well. He went back to Michigan and he bought a house on the outskirts of Detroit. He paid $50, which would, I did the math, $276 today.
For a house.
And it's like a mansion. It's huge. And he starts just fixing it up. And meanwhile, he's finding work as a day laborer. He's cleaning out people's yards and their basements and repainting and like just scrubbing stuff down, doing reno work and demo work and all of the dirty, hard stuff that nobody else wants to do.
Right.
So these fans, they talk to his daughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, I can give your number to him. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, one of them gets a phone call and picks up the phone. Like, his wife picks up the phone and was like, hi, can I please speak to Sugar? And they put him on the phone. And he's like, the minute I heard his voice, I was like, holy wow. This is him.
Oh my God.
This is him. And they're like, hey, listen, you need to come to South Africa, please. We will make this happen. They're like, look, you have literally sold more albums than Elvis.
Wow.
He's so huge in South Africa now. He's bigger than the Rolling Stones. He is bigger than the Beatles. He had no idea.
No idea.
Because the way that licensing works,
Yeah.
somebody was able to buy, like, not his licensing rights, but like, oh, I can buy the rights to your music in this country.
Right. Yeah.
So he has no clue. And they're like, please come here. You won't regret it. So in 1998, he goes on a 6-stop tour.
Oh my God.
All stops are sold out. They're all arenas.
Wow.
He's playing to 20 and 30,000 people.
Holy cow.
This guy that was like couldn't sell out a bar called the Sewer.
Selling out stadiums.
Right. Big Sky, the band Big Sky, is opening for him. Dave Matthews Band was like, oh, we really wish we could have opened for him.
Oh my God.
Because he was a huge influence because they're South African.
Wow.
Anyway, Big Sky is the opening band. And they also back him because by now, he doesn't have his...
No, he doesn't have a band.
So he goes out and on March 6th of 1998, he starts to open up his first show with I Wonder, the song I just played. They play the opening bars a few times, and then they just have to quit and give him his flowers because it takes about 10 to 15 minutes of applause before
He can even sing.
before the band can even play.
Oh my God.
It is amazing.
Aw.
Also, he's just like, this is a guy that was like cleaning out your basement 2 weeks ago, right?
Right.
So they show up on the flight that they were like chartered, and they're walking with their own bags. He brings his daughters because he's like, well, I'm doing this in part because I want my daughters to be able to like have some travel.
Absolutely.
And a few limos pull up and they're like trying to get out of the way of the limos because they're like, oh, this is surely not for us. And the limos are like, hi, yeah, hey, Rodriguez.
Get in the limo.
So they take him to the fancy hotel where they have like a presidential suite and all of that stuff. And his daughter says that the night that they stay in the hotel, he sleeps on the couch because he's like, oh, I don't want anyone to have to make up a new bed because of me. Like, he doesn't want anyone to have to change the sheets for him. Like, I don't want to make more work for the housekeeping. I'll just sleep on the couch. And so after the tour, he goes home and, he gives all of his money to the family. And he says, he goes back to day labor. He doesn't try to, pursue this. He just goes back to, cleaning out your basement. And when somebody interviews and asks him about that, he says, oh, real life is better.
Wow.
I know.
Oh my
In
God.
2013, the people that found him and arranged for this tour put together a documentary called Searching for Sugar Man.
Wow.
And it comes out and it's about his story. Well, these are not wealthy people that are making this film. So the filmmakers, halfway through the documentary, they ran out of money.
Oh no.
And so halfway through, they don't have equipment rental anymore. So they finish up the film by filming with their own mobile phones.
Oh my God.
Just if you and I were out there making a documentary with our cell phones, except it's 2013, so they're not even as nice as what we have right now.
Wow.
It wins the Oscar for the best documentary film.
Oh my God.
They win the Academy Award
Oh my God.
with Searching for Sugar Man. Rodriguez does not attend the Oscars because he doesn't want to pull focus from the filmmakers that have
Oh
made
my
this.
God. He really does not like being in the spotlight.
Is this man Jesus? Because it feels like this man is Jesus. There's never been anyone so humble, right?
Wow.
He doesn't go to the Oscars, but it does win the Academy Award 2013, Searching for Sugar Man. You can find it on Netflix. You can buy it on Amazon Prime. Go check it out, y'all. He does suffer some health problems. He becomes blind from glaucoma.
Oh, okay.
And so he has to kind of in the latter few years of his life, he has to hold on to somebody's arm
Right.
to be able to get around. 2022, he's got blindness from glaucoma. In 2023, he does suffer a stroke.
Oh.
And he goes into the hospital and they operate to try to remediate some of the the effects of the stroke.
Right.
But he passes away a week later.
Oh, no, that's sad.
So Sixto Rodriguez leaves us in 2023. But this is kind of interesting. So that tour that he did in South Africa,
Yeah.
his daughter Ava, who was the one that kind of found the website and got all of that to happen, on that tour, she falls in love with the guy that's doing the security in South Africa.
Uh-huh.
And they marry and they have children
Oh my God.
together. And so they are still very, very happy. And it sounds as though, I guess they're still doing all right. So
That is so crazy.
that is the wild ride
Wow.
of Rodriguez. And like I said, man, I've bought books for this podcast before. But when I first started listening, I'm going to play you more of this later. When I first started listening to this music, I went out and bought
The album.
a copy of his first album, and I'm going to get the second one too.
That's amazing.
Make no mistake, but it's very good, and his lyrics, and some of them are so just, this is not an outburst or the establishment, or this is not a song, it's an outburst or the establishment blues. The mayor hides the crime rate, councilwoman hesitates, public gets irate, but they forget the vote date.
Wow.
Garbage ain't collected, women ain't protected, politicians using, people they're abusing. Mafia's getting bigger like pollution in the river, and you tell me this is where it's at.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much that I'm just like, oh my gosh, wow, everything old is new again, isn't it?
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So that is, I would encourage everyone to please look up Rodriguez.
Yes.
And like I said, Cold Fact is the first album, and that is the most popular. And that is the story of Sixto Rodriguez.
That is amazing. I love it. Wow. Good story. Really good story.
know. I was going to say, I'm going to take Janet out back and tell her that she's famous in South Africa. And then we'll be right back with What's Nice.
We'll be back with What's Nice. If you are from the Midwest and have any suggestions for stories, please send them to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Make sure to join our Facebook page linked in the description. We also have merch, which is also linked in the description to help support our podcast. Now let's return to What's Nice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Now we're here for What's Nice.
All right. Well, Janet, do you have something nice to share?
I do. I'm going to go with Coldwater, Michigan, because
Okay.
that's where most of everything happened. At least the murder. There is a place in Coldwater, Michigan called the Wing House Museum. It is a 19th century Second Empire architecture. I have some pictures of it here for you to look at. Let's see here. Screenshots. There we go. Here's the house.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful. It's got like a bunch of big, gorgeous columns and then kind of a big wraparound, like, what is that top level there?
Yeah, it's the second floor. It's just,
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting. We'll post the picture. They are located at 27 South Jefferson Street in Coldwater, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They were built by the Chandler family in 1875, but then in 1882 it was purchased by the Wing family, and that's why it's called the Wing House.
The Wing Mansion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or the Wing House.
So 3 generations of the Wing family lived there from 1882 until 1974.
Mm-hmm.
In 1974, the Branch County Historical Society, they ended up purchasing the home. They use it for the home of the society, and they have a museum there as well.
Right. Okay.
The museum shows the history and how the families lived and worked in the late 1800s. They are open between April and November, the third Saturday of every month, from noon to 4, and also by appointment.
Oh, okay.
And they host private catered luncheons and dinners.
Nice.
So it just looks like a neat place, you know. It's a
It does.
historical site. I mean, it's more used as an office, and you know they upkeep it to keep it for in its original form.
Oh, nice.
It's just so pretty.
To keep
But
it, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Coldwater, Michigan is really small, and that's what they have.
Right.
So that is my What's Nice. Super short.
I have a very, very short What's Nice this week as well.
Okay.
And that is that, I mean, I looked at Detroit, Michigan, and Dearborn, Michigan, and most of what I found had to do with Henry Ford, which I kind of feel like was everything that is like what Rodriguez would have been against.
Yes.
But there is a mural. There are apparently 2 Detroit murals that honor Rodriguez.
Really?
One at Wayne State, which is his alma mater. And then the one that I've got a photo of and that I've sent you is at Verner Highway and Sharon.
Okay.
Both were painted when he was still alive, which I love.
Right. So
he
you got to see
at
him.
least get his flowers a little bit while he was here. And that is this
wow.
one. And so this is all the way along
That's
the side
amazing.
of a building.
Yeah.
And so it's a picture of him with his guitar. And he says, "Won't you bring back all those colors to my dreams?" Which is a line from Sugar Man. And so this is kind of in downtown Detroit.
That is beautiful.
And you can still go and see both of them. There was a Henry Ford museum that I was kind of tempted to do. Like, part of the Henry Ford museum was there's this outdoor area.
Oh yeah, no, I've been there.
Where you can like drive a Model T and all.
There, it's a bunch of houses in the same
Right,
place. Yeah,
right,
no,
right.
I've been
Greenfield Village, is
there.
that what
Yes,
it's called?
that's it.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I was also like, oh, 6'2" wouldn't want that. You know?
Right.
So what I do love is that, his music is beautiful and brought beautiful themes to a bunch of people that were kind of devoid of hope.
Right.
And that he now is depicted on this beautiful mural
Yes.
in the middle of kind of an impoverished area that like brings color and hope and voice
Right.
to
Absolutely.
those people. So
That's amazing.
I felt like that was the one that I had to go with.
Of course.
I know I don't usually like try to pick a what's nice that goes along with my story, but
this
in
makes
this
more
case,
sense. Yeah.
it makes more sense. Also, oh my gosh, you guys, look up his music. Just Google Rodriguez. It's so good. I'm obsessed. I've been listening all day. I've bought it on vinyl, and I love it, love it, love it. And we love the adventure that this podcast takes us on.
Absolutely.
And we love that you tune in and that you listen every week. And man, wow, we're so grateful and so honored to be able to do what we do
Exactly.
every week and have have you tune in and have you keep listening and have you write in with your suggestions and your praise and your criticism. We take it all to heart. We
Yes.
really, really do appreciate
Absolutely.
each and every one of you, really. So if it's not too much to ask, do like tell another person or so. Like tell another person, tell another two people. But boy, if you're just showing up for us still every week, man,
We really appreciate you.
we really appreciate you. This is the most fun thing that I have done, and I don't even know how long. And we love making this for you, and we're going to keep doing it for as long as you keep tuning in and
Yeah.
listening. And before I gush too much,
I think we're near the end.
I think this is where we should sign off. And Janet, I think there's one thing we want to remind everyone, and that is
Stay Midwest nice.
stay Midwest nice.